Maintenance. Your backhoe should be serviced regularly by a qualified mechanic to ensure the longevity of the machine and your safety. Follow the maintenance schedules of your specific machine to give it the care it needs. If you make a minor repair to the machine, you should only use manufacturer-approved replacement parts to avoid major damage to your machine. Never alter the machine in any way without the manufacturer's approval. Avoid improvised checks, as unapproved parts are not guaranteed to fit the machine. Arm raising devices. Never allow anyone to stand under the raised arm or attachment, even if it's empty. If you need to perform maintenance or need to be under the arm for some other reason, start by locking the arm in place. Then put the machine in park and turn it off. We will describe the process briefly in the following slides. Definition. A lift arm support device is a machine device used to prevent unintentional lowering of the lift arm when they must be raised for maintenance or some other purpose outside of regular loader operations. The lift arm supports consist of arm locking levers activated from inside the cab or tie rods that are manually adjusted with the help of a second person. They're usually painted red and are located on the side of the lift arm. To secure the bracket, turn off the machine and disengage the bracket pin. Once back in the cab, start the engine and raise the lift arms. If the bracket does not lock automatically, turn off the engine and have another person secure the bracket to the hydraulic cylinder. Do not inspect the backhoe or perform maintenance until you are sure the support is secure and the boom is locked. Once you're done, remove the pin to release the brace and then lower your arms. Turn off the engine and secure the clamps in its original position next to one of the lift arms. Reminder, every backhoe is different, so be sure to follow your specific machine's procedures when engaging and disengaging locks. Swing area. As the backhoe operator, do not allow anyone to enter the swing area. Remember, the rule exists to keep everyone safe. Your view of this area is not always clear, so you may not see someone entering the space, which could lead to an accident or death. If your job requires a coworker to be in the swing area, make eye contact with them before they enter. If it is safe for them to do so, tell them to continue. Otherwise, they must wait outside the reach of the barrier until you tell them it's safe to enter. You should not move the backhoe until the worker has cleared the area. There may be situations where it is necessary for a worker to remain in the turning area or swing area while the operator performs the task. If this is the case, the worker must remain within sight of the operator at all times and must always work facing the machine. Lateral operations. As we mentioned earlier, backhoes can be used for a variety of tasks. See the chart for some of the most common tasks they're used for. It is your responsibility to become further familiar with the specific work will be required of you. Pick up and transport. Many backhoes are rated to pick up and transport loads that require moving. However, if moving loads becomes a constant part of your operation, it would be best to use a small mobile crane. If not available, you can use the backhoe that may have been pre-approved by the manufacturer and are rated for hauling. Definition: picking and rigging. Picking and rigging are similar terms, but there is a difference. Picking is an actual act of lifting the load, while rigging is the act of securing a load to prepare it to be picked up and moved. There are a few things you should keep in mind before mounting a load. To get started, always check your operator's manual to make sure your machine is approved for bucket picking and has the right rigging equipment for the job. Use chain straps, especially when transporting loads with sharp edges. Take notes. While you can use synthetic straps, keep in mind they are more susceptible to damage. Authorization from the manufacturer is not sufficient. It is also necessary to receive specific training on basic transportation and signage. Once you receive that training, you may be prepared to inspect all shackles and straps before using them. For now, remember to look for signs of damage, abuse, extreme rust, or broken links. You should also know how to properly secure a shackle and strap. When possible, always lift from the designated lift eyes. If the bucket has lifting eyes located at the rear, use a load-bearing shackle to secure the straps to the eye. Never place a wrap or a strap around the lift arms or any hydraulic lift cylinder. Additionally, you should never weld anything to the bucket for this purpose without the manufacturer's approval. Make sure the load is centered before lifting. Placing a load freely to one side could affect stability, especially if you are traveling with a load in the air. Additionally, if the connection points damaged, missing components, or do not have the proper load capacity for the job, do not use them. Free preparation is the direct connection or replacement of connecting equipment to the ends of a motorized industrial truck for any under-end lift. This type of lift does not use an approved lifting accessory. Know your workplace. You must be familiar with your workplace where you will operate. As noted above, regulations require operators to receive refresher training if a condition in the workplace changes in any way that could affect these safe operations. This includes working conditions. Communication. Informing others of your position and intention is essential to safely moving around a workplace. Use radios whenever possible or have face-to-face conversations with your coworkers to make sure everyone is on the same page. In some workplaces, hand signals may be used. Everyone present on sites should be familiar with these signs. If your workplace relies on hand signals, there should only be one designated signer. However, everyone on site should be familiar with the hand signals, especially the emergency stop signal. The signals can be given by anyone on the job site at any given time. Repeat until operation stops. Pedestrians. Pedestrians have the right of way. However, that doesn't mean that they are always right, nor that they are necessarily aware of your presence. In busy workplaces, it is common for people on foot to focus solely on what they are doing. Ultimately, it is your responsibility to keep an eye out for pedestrians. There are some actions you can take to make sure everyone is safe. First, don't forget to use your horn, especially before reversing, turning corners, or going through intersections. Being aware of your surroundings can prevent accidents and injuries. Take special care of pedestrians when working in confined spaces. Never approach a vehicle or turn near someone who is next to a fixed object. This poses a hazard of being run over or trapped and can seriously injure or kill a pedestrian. In areas with heavy foot traffic, use barriers and warning signs to keep pedestrians and machinery separated. If your charger comes with side mirrors, make sure they are installed. You should also be familiar with the location of the pedestrian crossing and footpaths. Take notes. Mirrors can help you see if anything is behind you or in your blind spots while operating your backhoe. If the bucket or attachment is low, but your forward view is still blocked due to the size of the load or some other obstacle, travel in reverse or use a spotter. Never look out a window or a door to try to see around a large load. When traveling in reverse, always look around, check your mirrors, and then sound the horn before moving forward slowly. There is a reversing arm installed. It should be running. If it is not installed, consider installing one. If it is broken, fix it. Additionally, you cannot drive heavy machinery the same way you drive a car. High speeds, stops, starts, and turns can be deadly if you are not careful or unaware of your backhoe and its surroundings. Posted speed limits are designed for small passenger vehicles traveling under optimal road conditions. As a heavy equipment operator, you should only drive as fast as road conditions allow. If you must drive slower than the posted speed limit, place a slow-moving vehicle emblem on your backhoe to warn others. Never make sudden changes in direction. Momentum can easily change with the machine's COG, increasing the chance of a tip-over. Gradually and slowly accelerating, braking and turning can prevent this from happening. Also, if you have to cross railroad tracks, curbs, or potholes, Do so at an angle to maintain stability. Following the distance. Always maintain a distance of at least 3 vehicle spaces between yourself and other machine or motor vehicles. Become as familiar as possible with your intended path and any potential obstacles or hazards that could cause you or others to stop abruptly. Right of way. When approaching another operator on any type of machine, loaded vehicles typically have the right of way over empty units. Loaded machines have a longer braking distance due to the additional weight of the load. If your workplace or employer has other rules for establishing right of way, make sure you're familiar with them. Stop. Again, avoid stopping suddenly. The dynamic force imposed on the machine can affect its stability and cause it to tip over, especially if it's carrying a load. Remember, you must have enough space to stop the machine safely. Parking lot. When possible, park your backhoe on flat, stable ground. If you must park on a slope, park it right angle to the slope. Set the parking brake and chock the wheels. When parking on the street, use cones and warning oncoming traffic. Take notes. When parking, do not block fire lanes, emergency equipment, or access to stairs, entrances, or exits. Traffic control and stop. Every year, hundreds of workers are injured or killed by oncoming traffic. Because of this, when working near or on public railways, you should plan and use barricades, markers, and high visibility clothing to alert approaching traffic of your presence. While traffic control is usually as simple as placing a few cones to direct traffic around a small excavation, it can become much more complex when working on busy roads. It's especially complicated when such work changes traffic flow and speed limits are required road closure signs. Take notes. In these more extreme cases, try to work with the right people and obtain the proper permits, along with any specialized training specific to your area before beginning work. Lighting. Plan for adequate lighting, especially if you will be working early in the morning or at night. Do not drive in the dark. If any of the lights on the machine do not work, using another truck's headlights as a primary source of light will not be sufficient. The poor lighting can affect your visibility and cause an accident. Ramps and trailers. You will most likely need to transport your backhoe to different job sites within a truck and trailer. However, keep in mind that trailer safety is not a given. For this reason, when preparing to transport or unload backhoes, first consult the operator's manual to identify specific tasks that are necessary to ensure a trouble-free trip. Use a heavy truck or trailer for transportation. The floor must be load capacity and be able to support the load sufficiently. Check the floor for tears and other weaknesses. If it seems excessively weak or shows signs of impending failure, don't take the chance. The trailer must also have all the necessary signs and lights required by law. For example, if your trailer requires an oversized sign, then you must have the necessary signs and permits on hand. Chock the trailer wheels before loading the backhoe. When loading a backhoe up a ramp, use a spotter. Remember that the front of the machine will be light, so accelerate slowly to keep the front wheels on the platform. Once the machine is in travel position, lower the buckets and set the parking brake. Chain the machine to the transport vehicle using the designated tie-down points. Avoid passing chains over hydraulic cylinders or other parts that may be damaged. Install the tie-down chains in a cross configuration, side to side and front to back. When unloading the machine, be sure to remove all tie-down chains. Then carefully lower the ramps, keeping the loading bucket high enough to clear the platform. You should also use a spotter to help you go down the ramp, as they may see a hazard that you cannot. Ditches. All people who work in or around trenches or who play a role in trenching should receive additional training specifically to trench safety. In this training, we'll just touch up on a couple of basic trenching principles. Did you know trench collapse kills more than 10 workers each year, but can often be prevented with proper training, planning, and protection. An important safety principle is to locate all potential buried hazards before digging, such as hazards including underground service lines, pipes, bolts, and other objects owned by other businesses or individuals. To help you avoid these dangers, you can call 811, a free federal one-call center designed to protect utilities to keep you safe. Call at least 2 days before the scheduled excavation. They can then help you make sure all lines are properly marked with paint or flags before you dig. Once a buried hazards have been marked or addressed, a competent person should inspect the site before excavation begins. Your study will determine the type of soil, which will ultimately determine the slope of the excavation or trench and how far from the edge you can install your equipment. Take notes. Soil is typically classified into 4 categories: type A, B, and C, and solid rock. We don't cover them in this training, but you should be familiar with them and know how to dig accordingly. When installing your backhoe near a trench, keep the excavated material and other equipment or tools at least 2 feet from the edge of the trench. However, this distance may need to be greater depending on the type of soil found in the excavation site. Increased group pressures pushes the sidewall down and outward. Take notes. The slope of the dirt pile should be flat enough to prevent the material from sliding into the trench. If the trench will be more than 5 feet deep, you must plan ahead and have adequate protection for the trench, such as shoring or shielding. Under no circumstance should you or others be in unprotected trench during excavations. Also, use ladders to get in and out of the trench safely. Definition: do not confuse shoring with shielding. Shoring is designed to prevent collapse, while shielding is only designed to protect workers should a collapse occur. No matter how deep the trench or excavation is, place barricades or something equivalent to prevent people from falling into the ditch. You should always follow this practice, both to keep yourself and your co-workers safe, and to keep areas with pedestrians or vehicle traffic safe. Power lines. You may not encounter many overhead hazards when operating a backhoe, but one important hazard to be aware is power lines. The following slides will go over some best practices to follow if you work near power lines, as well as what to do if you come into contact with them. If you work near power lines, standards say you should stay at least 10 feet away, but this may be greater depending on the voltage of the power lines. Take the time to plan for all potential hazards. Also, be sure to post warning signs near them to keep operators at a proper distance. If you come into contact with power lines with any part of your machine's arms, don't panic. If you're still holding the controls, you can lower your arm down and away from the lines. If you release the controls, do not touch them again, as they may be energized. Stay where you are, notify others of the situation, and warn them to stay away. Only abandon the backhoe when you are sure the power company has de-energized the lines. The only situation in which you must abandon the machine before the lines are deactivated is if the machine is on fire. In this situation, you will have to jump off the machine. Please note that the ground around the machine may also be energized, so do not touch the machine and the ground at the same time. Take notes. Touching the ground and your machine at the same time when both are energized will close the electrical circuit and could electrocute. When you jump off the backhoe, try to land and walk away with your feet very close together. If you fall forward, then jumping, rolling into a ball to decrease the possibility of creating a single leg electrical path to the other. If you notice another operator contacting a power line, follow these steps. Call him, try to keep him calm, ask him for help, and wait until the lines have been de-energized before approaching him. If the operator is unconscious, do not attempt to rescue him or her until you are sure the power has been turned off to avoid electrical injury. Never be fooled into thinking that the lines have been de-energized without confirmation from the power company. Sometimes the switch resets itself. Never try to use a pole or board to move a cord away from the charger, as the pole or board could conduct electricity. Conclusion. Backhoes are useful and versatile machines. In this training, we have gone over the different components of your machine and the importance of properly inspecting them. We also discussed important stability constants to help you operate a backhoe safely. We also go over the trading safely starts with you. If you don't follow safe practices, you put yourself and your coworkers at risk. This led us to discuss how important it is to understand your machine and only use it as intended by the manufacturers. Lastly, we covered how knowing your workplace and being prepared for its different hazards can help you operate a backhoe safely. Remember that by understanding safe practices and operating your backhoe correctly, you can help reduce accident rates throughout the workplace. Safety is everyone's responsibility. For all safe work practices and safety regulations applicable to your workplace, when in doubt, take the time to stop and check with your employer, regulations, safety programs, and equipment manufacturer. Good luck, be safe, and take care.
Hey, you've already done the hardest part, which was watch this video. Now, don't stay there. Take the next step. Answer a couple questions, pass the quiz, and the certification is yours. Don't just stop by watching. Take action today. Go down to the link below, get a discount, and get certified now.